What's up, everybody? Yeah, I am in a totally different persona mode today. I apologize if you're offended by my nips. But it's warm and I couldn't be bothered putting on any clothes. So I guess I will, at the risk of making people think that somehow I want my body to be objectified, put myself on camera this way because I am gonna be naked from now on in life. Be who you want to be and don't give it any more thought. Okay, this is gonna be a pretty intense week ahead. I'm sure you're probably already aware of that. But I'm also gonna try to get through this reading pretty quickly because I got a lot going on. So, what do we have to talk about? Well, I mean, two big things, of course, and I'm sure if you're following other astrology and tarot channels, you're probably already aware of this or in your own personal practice. We have the Sun squaring Neptune right now. That won't, well, the influence will last a little while, but that's an intense reinvigoration of the way we see ourselves in our spiritual practice. Babe, I'm busy right now. What? You want to come out? Okay, hold on. Oh. Everyone, remember Enzo? Yes, he's getting bigger. No, that's not happening. That's not happening. Okay. He's really rambunctious at the moment, and what can you do? Kittens are very sweet, but woo! So, yes, Neptune, Sun squaring Neptune. I think we've all been in a little bit of a fog spiritually for a little while, sort of uncertain of what it is that we actually are experiencing. And, we've had so much theoretical stuff going on that I don't think that we've really been able to administer practices that are expansive beyond what we already know. And subsequently, I think, no, put down. That's not happening. Sorry. There's a lot of bullshit that needs to be let go of, and I was having this conversation very recently about coming into that understanding of only, spirituality being our essence and therefore really something that we contain within ourselves that then flows over into the world around us, and that we are essentially, yes, conduits, but in our own bodies, we are masters of our own spiritual practices. So there is no right or wrong. Whatever you're doing is exactly right for you, whether that be, drinking 6 martinis a night or sitting doing Kundalini yoga for 6 hours a night. One's probably going to make you feel very differently than the other, but it's like whatever you need at this very moment on your spiritual path, right? Well, aside from us still having Mercury retrograde energy that kind of is shifting everything back and forth in unexpected ways, we're also looking at, you are not going on the computer. You can come up here, but I don't want you going on the computer, okay? Sorry, it's very difficult. It's like as if I had a little toddler, so I apologize for that. These cards are not toys. We're doing something very important right now. Okay. You go there. And then, I mean, basically, the Neptunian energy being squared by the sun is, oh, no, you're going down. Can't take this. No, stop it. I get maybe this is actually an exact perfect example of what Neptune being squared by the sun is all about, you know? Chaos of the mind versus the body. It's sort of, you know, and not in a sense of something derogatory or depleting, but on the contrary, something very invigorating, you know, with finding the true source of spirituality and our spiritual energy, but in unexpected ways, sort of like a veil being lifted, and you may be in the position where you think to yourself, like, how could a veil be lifted any more than it already has been? I mean, considering that we're literally, you know, in this awakening, ascension, shifting consciousness, dimensionality, blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, that's an ever-expanding concept, right? And it's always about unraveling from what we already know, not moving towards more of a contained, defined reality, because you know, if that's what you're looking for, you may as well get off this train right away, because that's not happening. It's only ever going to get more and more. You know, the more you know, the more you realize how little you know, right? And that goes for everything in life, but certainly in terms of spirituality and the universe and what energy is, and I'm sure you're all acutely aware too of like the sort of the quantum progress that we've made in terms in the field of science regarding dark matter, or at least starting to understand that what we do see of dark matter from an empirical perspective is proving to essentially negate everything that we have considered the masters of science to have offered us, such as, you know, Einstein's theories, and you know, these things are being turned upside down. They're actually not, they're not proving themselves to be reliable. Which then you have to consider that basically negates everything that we know about life, or everything that we were taught and that we have integrated in the Hierophant energy, you know, these institutions, this, you know, everything is built on these fundamental truths that are actually turning out to not be truths. That's very Sun square Neptune. So a lot of this it's just the shifts. I think it's like a collective awakening, albeit all in different ways, to understanding, as the veil is lifted, just how wrong our faith in institutions of the past really is at this point, which is also disconcerting because it means that you have to go back and look at everything that you've experienced and learned, and how your logical mind has categorized those things in order to build a sense of a foundation. And it's like, whoa, well, if that foundation isn't real, then you have to go back and remind yourself that everything that you think in an institutionalized way, whether that be on the macro level of, you know, the solar system, the galaxies, the universe, down to your government, your school education system, your the values of, you know, the ideology that your country adheres to, your family, your definition of family, everything only exists based upon how you perceive it, which is based on knowledge passed on to you that is probably wrong. um, Again, that's not an indictment of anybody who taught you something that like turned out not to be right. It's just simply that we're all in that evolutionary process. So all we can really do is hold space and faith that those educators have also found themselves in the position to question everything, you know? Okay. And then, of course, the other major influence, which is scary as fuck in most astrologers' minds, but honestly, I actually don't adhere to it, and that is the second Saturn-Uranus square. We had one back in February. You know, I don't know how you related to that back in February. I mean, yes, February was probably pretty taxing. I mean, I actually think for me, I remember it as being about liberation, because it's when I started to really put my foot down in my old living situation and just be like, you know what, you guys are all fucking fools. Yeah, honestly, like, don't fucking take the piss out of somebody who is infinitely more intelligent and empathic and sensible than you. And actually, in all honesty, none of those people are in my life anymore, and I like it that way because I really do think they were all idiots. It was, for me, it was about stepping up to be able to stand in my own Saturnian energy. You know, Uranus is the you know, it's the deeply unexpected. It's electricity. It's like, you know, the sort of hectic energy gone haywire. But, you know, again, it's like, well, that's a misunderstanding the way it's often interpreted, because of course everything in the universe is in perfect divine order. So therefore, whatever is coming in an unexpected way is actually for our betterment, you know? So, for some people, there's, you know, that fear of the hiccups. And I mean, I've heard lots of astrologers over this last week talking about the second, you know, Saturn-Uranus energy, and there'll be a third in around Christmas time, and which will be the resolution of that energy. But I think that rather than looking at it as being like, oh, you're going to lose your job, or you're going to, like, you know, some other structure in your life is going to collapse, these are inner structures. You know, for people like us, like, hopefully we're in the position where our outside world is reflecting back to us something that is in alignment with who we are and who we want to be, and in a way that uses our strengths and gives us an opportunity to not only help others or our goals to expand and grow, but also to constantly challenge ourselves, even if that feels restrictive in some way. You know, it's still, you're developing a discipline of tolerance, you're developing an understanding of the big picture of a bigger kind of process at work beyond just your meager satisfaction of the day-to-day, you know? And so, anyway, that's just a tangent, but I don't think that there's anything for you to fear. Maybe in the outside world there's something for us to fear, you know, collectively a little bit. Not so much fear, but, you know, be in awe of and pay attention to, because I do think that these energies are likely to bring further disillusionment to the infrastructural falsehoods and artifice that we are coming to not rely on with increasing fervor. Anyway, I cannot go into that kind of thing, and I'm just going to finally, like, pull these cards, because I mean, I do have a bunch of other cards on the table, but not for actual tarot reading, so let us do this. I wasn't sure whether I was going to, well, you know what, I'm just going to let the cards come out. I was going to do a Celtic cross, but now I'm starting to see that they actually want to tell a story. Okay, I'll take those like that. Wait, is that the way it's meant to be? No, good. Oh, well, it's actually a lot nicer than I even thought there. Okay, let's go for it. Wait, is that it? Okay. Perfect. Any clarifiers on anything? You know, just stay grounded. As much as you can. And we'll get our messages in the cards, the oracle cards, so stand by while I pull these last clarifiers. Normally I wouldn't do all this on camera, but the reality is that I didn't really know what energy we were going to be in, because personally I felt like a little bit rushed and frustrated, so before starting the reading, and I had to ground myself a little bit. Anyway, here we have the reading. Excellent. Okay, let's look at our spirit animal oracle cards of the week. I'm only going to actually read one of these because we did get this, and this came out strongly as a reminder. Dove spirit, be peace. So remember, because that is true with this Saturn Uranus energy, that there is a potential for volatility. So you're probably going to want to make sure that you're mindful. At this point, we have that ability to be mindful. You may have some fuckery around you, for lack of a better way of putting it, that you need to again, quieten yourself, ground yourself, don't take the bait, because this is the actual message for us in the long term. 29, giraffe spirit, see the big picture. In other words, don't sweat the small stuff. A lot of this stuff, like that we're going through right now, in the unraveling of the Hierophant institutionalized energy, is it's there. You've got to kind of let it happen and not involve yourself, because otherwise you become part of a struggle that you're just meant to flow with, right? And we got flow under our belt in the last couple of readings. So let's go for the oracle message of giraffe spirit. Giraffes stretch upwards to reach the treetops and look down from a high vantage point. When giraffe spirit appears, it is a sign to observe from a higher view. In all aspects of your life, it's time to stretch your neck out and broaden your view. Open your eyes to what others need or are experiencing, and see the big picture you fit into. No matter how great your wisdom, knowledge, or experience, you don't want to overlook details and connections that will help you better understand yourself and your circumstances. So stretch yourself. Look beyond what catches your attention at eye level, and know that not everything is as obvious as you might like it to be. Spirit will bestow upon you a new perspective that might make all the difference. I don't think we need the protection message. Oh, do we? Okay. Are you sticking your neck out too far, reaching too high instead of looking around you to see conditions on the ground? Your devotion to co-creating something new is admirable, but giraffe spirit is showing up to remind you you have to look at the whole picture, not just those tasty leaves at the top of the tree. Perspective is necessary now, and that means checking in with what is going on around you and at your feet. Or perhaps you are ruminating over the worries of the world instead of paying attention to what you can do right now where you are to bring about the changes you would like to see. Align with your highest good and know that while perspective is important, transformation begins where you are. do not get so far up in the clouds thinking about all the big problems that you lose perspective and forget to do your part, however small it may be, to start enacting change, for transformation begins with you. And obviously that's going to depend as to whether or not the protection message applies to you based upon how much you've been integrating energies recently. And as I've said before, there is no hierarchy to this. We're all on the same journey, and we all have different circumstances in our life that kind of sometimes throw hurdles at us, and it gets in our way. It gets in the way of us making progress. We don't need to worry about that too much. So, but still, sometimes you do get a little bit lost, right? Okay, from our Sacred Destiny Oracle. I'll set that afterwards. I don't know why I'm trying to multitask there. We have two, again, the same processes with the Spirit Animal Oracle cards. This one came as a sub-message for us to be mindful of. Forgiveness, important. Again, I will read the message of forgiveness, but I think it's important to remember that forgiveness, as I say all the time, is not about admonishing another person or giving them the space to continue to misbehave or treat you in a way that you don't want. It's simply allowing yourself to detach from the emotion that keeps you in a state of imbalance. Because there's no point in, putting up a barrier, a boundary, should I say, and then spending all your time being irritated by the person or situation, even with the boundary in place. That means that you haven't actually integrated the boundary in your own life, so only you can do that, right? It is human to want to hold on to the past, our memories, experiences, and relationships. However, there can be times when we are carrying so much of the past that we can't fully see the present. The past doesn't seem to equal the future. Just because you had a pattern or recurring challenge in the past doesn't mean that it needs to recur in the future. The key is to be willing and ready to simply and cleanly let go of the hold that the past has on you. The past is gone, and it's okay to let it go. The way to do this is to fully immerse yourself in the here and now. Be super aware of the sights, sounds, smells, textures, and energy of your present. When you do this, the past simply vanishes and the glory of the present emerges. And again, I had this conversation just yesterday with somebody, and it's like, your past, your experiences, of course, on some level, they don't necessarily define you, but they contribute to the sum total of your parts as you are in the here and now. But there does come a point where we integrate that as a part of our generalized energy, and sorry, I have to